Hi, this is Udochi from Udochi Life Coaching. I'm here today with my co-host Chem on Chosen Chat, where we'll be discussing with rapper Philippe Prosper about not compromising. So Philippe, we actually met through McLean Bible Church. I don't know if you remember that, the evangelism ministry. I had wanted to try that out for a little bit and see where that went. And it's funny, we never actually went through with it.
I'm still waiting for you.
You're still waiting for me to come out with you on the
here.
We can just do that right after the show.
Right.
So tell me, how did you get involved with evangelism ministry?
Yeah, well, ever since I became a believer, I've been very just passionate about sharing my faith. Just because the way I grew up, I was Christianity was the last thing that I wanted to be involved with, and I had read the Bible a little bit, and it was the last thing I wanted to be a part of. And so when Christ actually got a hold of my heart and I realized who he really was, and I saw through all the misconceptions and hypocrisy, I became very passionate about it because I knew there was a lot of people who had a lot of the same misconceptions and holdups about faith that I did. And so I really became passionate about sharing that with people and the amazing experiences with God I was having. And so it became important for me at some point also to empower other believers, like, you can't force this stuff on people, but you've got the best news in the universe, what every soul needs to hear about God's love and God's forgiveness and the possibility of eternal life. So I really wanted to empower other believers to be able to this is a divine thing. It's a divine appointment. You can actually share that and God will be there with you. So I just wanted to empower other believers to be able to do the same thing and have that joy of sharing it with people.
Well, you definitely inspired me.
Praise God.
You said that Christianity was the last thing on your mind. Could you explain what was your turning point?
I've always been kind of like a stickler for truth, right? So I'm not going to believe something just because it feels good, just because I want to. Because just because I could believe that you're Canadian with all my heart, but that doesn't make you Canadian, right? So I don't want to believe something about eternal life that's false, or about God that's false. I got to know that it's true. And so I was studying all these different religions, grew up doing martial arts around Buddhism, all these different things. And so at some point I was like, God, I look outside and I could clearly, I'm an artist by nature, right? I'm a rapper. I like film, all these different things, drawing. And so I'm like, I know stuff doesn't get created by itself. Right. A computer doesn't just pop up. Like somebody has to do something, and this is more complicated than everything. It's very organized. So I was like, I know you're there. Would you please reveal yourself to me? And I was just begging God in humility. I had done it in pride before, like, where you at? Right. But in humility, I wanted to know who he was. And, God really revealed to me that he was real and he was personal. And just the experiences, again, I'm a stickler for truth. So I'm making sure that I'm not tricking myself mentally. Like, statistically impossible things kept on happening to me to show me, like, whoa, if I don't believe this now, I'm choosing not to. Right. God made it that clear. Like, I have no choice but to believe this. And I just humbled myself and over time got to understand and learn more what the Bible was actually really saying. And so you can imagine how that dramatic experience impacted my desire to share with other people. Right. It was like, this is a crazy thing that's real. Like, you got to know about this. Right. I know it sounds crazy, but you got,
Exactly.
So that's kind of what happened to me, so.
You mentioned being in the entertainment industry. You're a rapper, obviously we introduced you as such. So can you tell us a little bit more about how I can imagine that the entertainment industry is very, we see all the time on the news about entertainers just, going off the deep end when it comes to, partying and doing all kinds of, really morally questionable decisions.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit more about what exactly it is that, what tough choices that you've made in that environment?
Yeah, I think, people live based on what they believe and understand, right? Mm-hmm. So, people make all types of choices that, based on what they believe. I may not agree, but those are the choices they're making. Mm-hmm. For me, having had my life so radically changed by Christ, by God, there's a lot of things that I'm not willing to do to compromise with what I think that God's called me to do. And so that's a similar thing that I always say to Christians: if God's actually called you to do something, there's no reason to compromise. You have people like David, who was called and anointed to be king, and when he had an opportunity to kind of force it and make it happen, he did it. He said, I won't touch the Lord's anointed. And you have a similar situation with Daniel, where they didn't eat the meat sacrificed to idols. And if God's called us to do something, we have to have the same type of fortitude to not compromise, really. So for me, from doing acting and right now being a rapper, all these different things, I have had experiences like that where I've been in situations where I'm getting paid to do something and I have to tell them, I can't do this. And so it's a very, difficult situation to be in.
So you mentioned that you have been in situations that you said
Yeah.
that you can't do something. Can you elaborate on some of those situations? Have you ever had any issues and on set, in the movies, or in music where you didn't want to do anything?
Yeah. Well, I just made that up for this segment, but I'm just playing. No, that would be funny. And if I was watching this, I probably wouldn't want to. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah. No, I have specifically one of the biggest. There's been a lot of crazy stuff actually, and I've struggled throughout it and had to grow and really trust God in these things. But one of the biggest situations was probably the biggest film production I've ever been on. Was called How to Deal with the Police, and it was a film production. They shut down streets in Baltimore. We had rehearsals in this crazy nice hotel, the whole nine. And so, so just all the pressure of like, this is the biggest thing, and it ended up doing pretty well and stuff like that. But when I was there, they shut down the streets of Baltimore, and they had the little actors, director seats and all that, and I was sitting in one, and then they come up and I think they added a line or something. I forgot how it got, and they're like, yo, you gotta say this. And it was a curse word. And my personal convictions, when scripture says, do not let any unwholesome talk out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear. So I was like very, very conflicted. Like, Lord, I want to do this for you. I love you more than anything, and so I don't want to compromise anything. And so just praying and looking at the director sitting there together, and I'm like, yo, I'm getting paid for this. Like, I'm getting paid, so it would be a natural reaction to be like, are you out of your mind? Like, we're paying you.
Right.
You're not volunteering.
Exactly.
Like, I'm paying you for
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And so, but I just had to trust the Lord, and like, Lord, if you actually called me to do this, you called me to be here, there's nothing that's going to thwart your plans. And if I have to take a hit to honor you, then I'm more than glad to do that. That would be an honor to do that. And so I had to go to them and be like, hey, I don't mind portraying cursing, right? There's nothing about portraying it. I mind doing it. So I was like, I don't mind lip syncing it, but I'm not actually going to say it, because that's unwholesome talk coming out of my mouth. So that was my personal conviction. Like, this is a movie. I don't mind portraying that. I just don't want to say it. And so, they looked at me crazy. Obviously, to them, that's like the smallest thing. Like, what? You won't say a word? Like, are you out of your mind? And so they said they would try it. And so we did a few scenes of it, and they were actually pleased with it. And so that was like a huge blessing. And I didn't curse in that. And, it cost me later, because there was different films that he had called me about. There are even bigger productions, and he said, I thought about you, but I can't use you because you won't do this. But at the same time, he actually stayed an extra day after we filmed, and I got to know him really well. I got to share Christ with him, and he actually filmed the martial arts thing with my business partner James and I doing martial arts that day, just for free, just to shoot with us. And so God used it, you know what I mean? So.
That is such a powerful story. Now, do you still do a lot of acting, or what are you doing these days?
Yeah, these days, I'm mainly rapping. I'm still doing martial arts. We've got a show coming out called Rap is a Martial Arts, where I'm rapping and James is doing martial arts, doing it. This whole thing of like it's pretty cool. I hope. So I'm doing that. I'm doing acting as well in March. We're gonna be in a martial arts film, a short martial arts film, as well. And so as you know, just being an artist, there's usually different ways that you express yourself. So whether it's martial arts or rapping, really the same thing that drives me in that. And then acting, I love to play characters and stuff like that. And so I'm still doing that. But the main thing right now, obviously, is definitely rapping.
Okay.
So, how long have you been doing rapping? Like, and also what, sparked your interest in rap?
Yeah, man. I actually started rapping last month. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, both their faces were like, he's like, you look like you started last month. You should sing, man. You don't look like a rapper. You should sing, dog. You should sing. That's
You do kind of look like Tyrese.
Right,
Tyrese,
right,
the
yeah.
guy that was singing on the McDonald's
yeah,
commercial.
oh, man. Tyrese, I'm sorry, man. But yeah, so people always think I'm a singer, which is so silly. I understand though. Yeah, actually, your question was when did I start rapping?
Exactly. What sparked your interest?
What sparked my interest? Yeah, you know, it's really funny. I say this a lot, but actually, my dad always like hated rap music growing up. So for a long time, I kind of stayed away because he kind of put in like he would like turn the channel whenever rap would come on.
Right.
And so like I would be there, and he'd be like, and so when I started growing up, I would turn the channel.
Right.
You know, like I can't listen to rap music, and then right. But then I had a bunch of my friends, you know, that was listening to DMX and all these different people, and some old school dudes, some Rakim, all these different people. And so when I was at my friend's house, I would hear it a lot. And so I just fell in love with rap music, with the spirit of rap music, the kind of revolutionary spirit of it. I always wrote poetry. I always had a knack for writing and art and drawing and stuff like that. So I always wrote, like rhyming. I always loved that.
Right.
And I always had a special relationship with music. Like we would dance in the house all the time. I'm Haitian, so music's everywhere all the time. And so it was just like a natural thing that kind of happened when I was young, and I was kind of rapping because people always thought, oh, you should be a singer.
Right.
You know, like I had a hard time saying I was a rapper, but I would spend so much time rapping, so much time writing, so much rhyme schemes, rhyme patterns, looking up my favorite rappers. Like I spent so much time dedicating myself to the craft.
Yeah.
And so I think probably around, how old am I right now? So probably, wow, man. So probably around 16, I really started rapping a lot more, and you know, I was pretty horrible. And then, you know, probably around 18, 19 was probably the time where it was like, yo, you know, I'm gonna be a rapper. You know,
Did you start recording around that time, or?
Yeah, actually, one of my business partners, Trey Matthews, I thought he was hating on me because I would like bring stuff to him, and he would always tell me how terrible it was, and I was like, oh man, there's no way I'm that bad. You know, but we're on the same team now, and you know, he's a rapper we're under the same company, and so yeah, man. So to me, I take rap very seriously. You know, I did martial arts for a very long time, 5, 6, 7 hours a day at one period, and rap is very much like that to me.
So I was going to ask you 2 questions, and you can choose one or the other, or you can answer both. The first question is, if you could summarize your faith in one sentence, what would that sentence be? And the other question is what's your favorite Bible verse? I like to ask these questions to all my guests, so take it away.
You be asking easy questions.
Easy questions, because you think those are easy. That's
easy.
not always easy.
I'm being sarcastic. No, but I think it's actually a little easy for me. I mean, I think the first one I would summarize is by Dad, I love you.
Wow, that's a powerful statement.
Be Dad, I love you. And my probably it's hard to have a favorite Bible verse or so many, but kind of like my life verse, and just something that I guess kind of captures how I feel about the Lord is Philippians 1:21. It says to live is Christ and to die is gain. Yeah.
Very powerful.
So God provides for those who walk by faith. In what ways do you think God has provided for you?
I've been praying for a new suit.
Probably low you.
Right, you know,
Know you that one.
I got some scriptures that'll make you give that to me, and maybe another one if you got another. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Lord provides. You know, I didn't know He was gonna be here today. You brought the suit. No, I mean, God's always provided. I mean, every single. I've had a lot of jobs in the past that have demanded God either provide or not provide. Like, I'm terrible. I can barely raise money for a mission trip. But, you know, the first job I got when I was married was a full-time missionary job where, you know, I had to raise my whole salary, my support, and I was married. You know what I'm saying? And so that was either God's going to provide or not. Because I'm not good at fundraising. So it's not like I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And God really provided, and you know, I had about 3 years where, you know, nothing dipped. Like, it was like a salary, you know. And just the way that God provided, there was times where, you know, I was away and you know, I didn't have a chance to support Raise as much. I would just be praying, like looking at like, whoa, Lord, how's this gonna happen? And then like a supporter would just send me emails like, yo, I just had on my heart to give you more. It'd be like a few more thousand or something like that. Things like that. And even now, really believe that God's called, me and my team to do this entertainment thing. My wife's at home with our little baby Belle. We got an 18-month-old, and I stepped out from my job.
Wow.
So there's no income.
So he's gonna have to provide.
Right.
He's really taking a step out on faith.
Yeah, and he has been.
Amen.
And so, the important thing with that is obviously you can't do it foolishly and presume and assume that if you just do something that God's just gonna provide. So it's just a lot of time praying, fasting, seeking the Lord. Like, Lord, about His timing. He's put this on our hearts for about 7-8 years now. And so every time it's been like, wait. And so, the Lord's, He just really provided. He's just a faithful God. And again, that's one of the reasons why before I even came to Christ, like, Lord, you got to be more real than anything I can see. Because if I'm going to make my whole life depend on you, my whole life submit to you, how can I do that with something that is not true?
Yeah.
It's got to be true. You know what I mean? So even the way that I approach my faith and God is like, yo, this isn't cultural, this isn't theoretical. This is true as whether I'm eating tomorrow or not. And and my prayer is that God would do things to provide and things like that in my life and the life of other believers, so that others can see, so it could bring glory to His name, and not my own. So He does, man. There's no doubt about it. As long as you're in His will, God will provide. So
that's amazing. So that's all the time we have for today. We're gonna wrap up. So why don't you just
I'm sorry.
Every
time I hear that word,
I know.
Words.
Because of rapping.
Come out.
Is
Yeah,
that
you know
why?
what I'm saying? It's like,
just want to all of a sudden be like, I thought I told you that we won't stop. So, but anyway, it's been great having you on. It's been great having you on the show today, Philippe. Why don't you tell us how my viewers can find out more about what you're doing, or find you if you have a Twitter hashtag or something.
Yeah, well,
where we can find you.
You can go to PhilippeProsper.com and PhilipPe Prosper, like good long prosper.com. You can go there, or you can go to Facebook.com/IamPhilippeProsper. Or you can just Google it; it'll come up. Google the name. Man. So we have a lot more stuff coming out, and again, like I said, we try to speak to a wide audience with the music, and so yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Philippe. It's been great having you. Well, two hands.
Wow.
How about I shake you?
This is when you know you made it. You need another arm, shaking with your foot. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for coming on the show, Philippe. This has been Doshi Okeke and Chum.
Is that a new word for dope? I'm gonna use that. This has been Doshi Okeke.
We might have to.
That's
You are too much. You're hilarious. Thanks for coming on the show, Philippe. This has been Udochi from Udochi Life Coaching on Chosen Chat.